Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Jess Suggests, a video segment from the Ames Free Library. I'm Miss Jess, the Youth Services Librarian here at the Ames Free Library, and every few weeks I'm going to sit down with you right here and recommend some great new reads. Every episode is something new for readers from pre-K right through middle school, so stay tuned for some good stuff. This bonus episode is going to feature books that we call the Concept Collection at the Ames Free Library. These are early concepts that babies, toddlers, preschoolers all learn in those first few years of life. Our concept collection has 5 sections and actually recently grew by one over the summer. We have ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, shapes, colors, and words. And our recent addition to this whole concept collection is Nursery Rhymes. These sections are set aside so that they're easy to find because when a child is ready to count or is learning their ABCs or maybe you're working on shapes, you want to have a quick variety of books on hand. And so what better way than to have this section set aside at the library to make it easier to find them for you busy families. First, we're going to look at the ABCs on our concept collection. Those are on the top shelf. There are tons of books out there that include ABCs. The ones on our shelf are a hand-selected bunch. Only so many can fit on that shelf. So these books primarily have a page or at least a few lines that focus specifically on each letter. And maybe some of them have a few words that that letter represents. So some have stories. Some simply have a letter and the picture, or maybe multiple pictures. Some might have labeled pictures where it's one word for one picture for each letter of the alphabet as you go along. Since these books are specifically intended for children who are learning their alphabet or learning to identify letters in print and name those letters, these do not include any books with the mixed up alphabet with silly fun stories, or usually don't include anything where the letter itself is turned into a more abstract art. So a couple of examples from our collection. We have Click, Clack, Quackity Quack. You might know Click, Clack, Moo. This is part of that series. This is by Doreen Cronin and Betsy Lewin. And this is a good example where we have the letter and a couple of words with that letter. And what's fun about this one, A, animals awake, B, beneath blue blankets. You get that sound. You also get the look to identify that letter, but it does actually make a story as you follow the letters, and different things happen. So that's one example. And then the other is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, good old classic. Many of you already know this one by Bill Martin Jr. and John Archambault. And what I love about this book is that it shows us both the uppercase and lowercase version of each letter. 1, 2, 3s. Just like the name suggests, this is all about numbers. As with the ABCs, there are many, many, many counting books out there. And again, this collection tries to focus mainly on books for children who are learning how to count. So in order, usually from 1 to 10, sometimes they go a little higher. And also for children who are learning to identify those numerals. So the written number on a page. So many of these books, again, as with the ABCs, do have full storylines, but some simply have a numeral and maybe that number of objects on a page. We don't have books in this collection that usually include any math, even a basic 1 + 1 makes 2, 2 + 1 makes 3. That can distract from the straightforward mission of just learning how to count in order. So those aren't generally included. And we also try to avoid books that count much higher than 10 or 20, although you will find a few in here that take you all the way up to 100. I love this one, a personal favorite again. Roar! A noisy counting book. This book is by Pamela Duncan Edwards. Illustrations by Henry Cole. And this is another one where there is a story. There are plenty of words on the page, but the number part is very straightforward and simple. We've got a giant number 3 over here, and you can clearly count 1, 2, 3 warthogs. Sometimes in pictures like this, I count tails because it's hard to tell where each animal ends and the next begins. The color books are a combination of straight up colors. This is red with a picture of something red. This is blue. This is green. Sometimes with photos, sometimes with illustrations. And again, some stories that use colors. So maybe it will be that, Dog's Colorful Day, another favorite of mine, where dog is going on a walk and he dips his tail in paint and now his tail is blue. And then he steps on a juice container and he gets a spot that's orange. So sometimes the colors are incorporated into the stories and sometimes they are just straight samples of that color. So what we avoid in this section, so we don't confuse those early learners, we don't usually have books that involve mixing colors, or many of them might show different shades of a color, but they don't go into light blue or dark blue or turquoise and teal. They just have blue. So these are straightforward, great books for just looking and learning, okay, this is blue and this is blue and this is blue. These are a couple of examples that we have. Fun with colors. There is a whole series of these with every color imaginable. And these are some of those very straightforward books. What is green? And you'll see nice clear examples. This one's actually great, kind of can double as an early reader book. But it just shows this is green, and this is green. And in that way, you get that reinforcement of what you're seeing is this particular color. So that's a fun series to check out. And again, there are some great little stories in there as well. Shapes. Our shape collection is admittedly pretty small. Again, the goal is to mainly focus on learning shapes. So we've tried to select books that really focus on featuring the most basic shapes. No decagons in these books here. And also mainly books that show the shape clearly. So a lot of books might talk about a shape, but it's hard to really visualize it once that illustration is put together. But there are other books that we have included in this collection where even if it's used in an illustration, it might still be recognizable. So if a triangle and maybe a square make a house, then when they put that illustration together and they put the triangle on top of the square to make a house, you can still tell that it's a triangle and a square. So those are the kind of books we have included in the shape collection. Here is one example. I see already a bunch of shapes on the cover. I see some triangles, I see some circles, I even see some diamonds over here. So this is Shape by Shape by Suze McDonald. And actually this is a pretty popular way to do shape books. First off, we've got some great examples here of what kind of shapes you'll see in the book. It does include hearts and semicircles, so a little bit different things, but ones that are still easily recognizable. But once you get into the book, you've got this great concept where there are some cutouts in the book, and each cutout adds a shape, and then you start to see. So this one, and it clearly shows you circle. And the circle is yellow, just like the yellow eyes that you've got back there. And so as you turn the pages and go through the book, you add, what did we add? We added a semicircle, and that's the light green part. And so it tells you what circle you're, what shape you're looking at, and then where that's used in the illustration. So very clear to focus on for those who are just learning what shape is what. Words. Our word collection is a bit of a unique collection. We have some great books here that could be considered picture dictionaries. First and foremost, these have that simple picture next to just one word describing the picture. And this is a really great way to build vocabulary. A solid, varied, and large vocabulary is absolutely the biggest foundational piece to becoming a successful reader. So while none of these books have stories, and they might look like just a bit of fun, let's see, what can we find out about things on the farm? These are actually really, really great learning tools because there are so many words in these little books on all these pictures that you can build a giant vocabulary, and that will get everyone off to a great start. Others who might enjoy these books are anyone with specific interests. I bet you know someone who really loves construction vehicles, right? Or maybe if you're trying new foods, there's a whole book about foods. And so, mini foodies in training. Dinosaurs, things that go, farm animals, lots of popular topics in this section. And finally, these can be really great books for those beginning readers who use the picture to identify something. They might be able to look at this and say, oh, well, I know that's a bat. Well, let's pick out the letters. B-A-T says bat. So these can go, this is actually a very useful collection for a lot of different readers. And here comes our bonus category in this bonus episode, and that is our latest addition to the concept shelf, the Nursery Rhymes. We added Nursery Rhymes to this concept collection because they are one more tool for building little ones' literacy baseline. Nursery rhymes are often complete nonsense, although I think that makes them all the more fun to share aloud. But some of the more catchy ones you actually can use to remember things. Maybe you learned your days of the week that way, or months of the year. Many of us know the popular nursery rhymes. So of course we know, Hey Diddle Diddle and Mary Had a Little Lamb, but there is a very rich collection of rhymes out there that most of us have never heard, or at least if we ever did, we have completely forgotten them by now. So that rhythm, that rhyme, that short little silly bit, that is such a great way to build a baby or a toddler's interest in words and songs and rhymes, and then hopefully when they're a little older, in books, because they've already got that love for words. So a couple of examples of nursery rhymes from our collection are this book of favorite nursery rhymes from Mother Goose, illustrations by Scott Gustafson. You can see these are almost little works of art. We also have a lot of books that are a little more whimsical, very child-friendly instead of that very artistic look, and you'll have a few rhymes on each page here. Despite the basic focus of these concept categories, many of these books really are still riotous read-alouds. They are so much fun to share. So don't skip out on the concept collection just because you or your child is already fluent with writing their ABCs and can count all the way to 100. I hope you'll swing by the library to check out these great reads, and you can feel free to call the library or shoot us an email for personalized recommendations. Check back soon to see my next video for some more suggestions. Till then, be well and read well.